stop. Right now, you're losing money. Not because you're bad with money and not because you don't work hard enough, because there's a hidden bill attached to everything you buy. And nobody ever told you it exists. Your morning coffee, your Uber to work, that sofa you just ordered, the holiday you're planning. The average person in the UK has 10 to 20,000 pounds of hidden energy exposure every year. And when energy prices spike, that number explodes. Your cost of living doesn't go up because of inflation. Inflation goes up because energy went up first, and you never saw it coming. In this video, I'm going to show you the hidden energy bill destroying your purchasing power and how to calculate your exact exposure down to the pound. If you've ever felt like life just got more expensive overnight, this is why. You're told inflation comes from the government printing money, supply chain issues, or corporate greed. Now, these may be factors, but long before this, inflation starts in one place, and one place only: the energy market. Oil, gas, electricity. These are the inputs to everything. When energy moves, everything moves. And it doesn't just show up in headlines, it shows up in your bank account. Now let me prove this to you. Every person on the planet has two energy exposures. First off, there's the direct energy exposure, which is the obvious one. This is your petrol or diesel cost for filling up your car. This is household gas bills or household electricity bills, and you know about these. You might complain about them, but you can't do anything about it, and so you move on. But here's what you're missing. Your transport is also direct energy exposure. This is train fares, tube costs, Uber rides. Also, what about your deliveries? Amazon or any other delivery charge for your online shopping or grocery shopping or takeaways like Deliveroo or Just Eat. And then there are your flights for your holidays. When diesel goes up, everything that moves goes up as well. When electricity goes up, everything that's powered goes up. And it happens instantly, long before the news reports it. Second of all, we have the indirect energy exposure. Now this is the one that secretly destroys you. This is the part that is wiping out households without you even knowing. Because here's what no one talks about. Everything you buy is made from energy. Furniture, phones, electronics, clothing, building materials, food, beverages, holidays, restaurants, childcare, gyms, haircuts, everything. Now let me give you an example. When oil spiked in 2022, your sofa didn't just cost more because of inflation. It cost more because the foam came from petrochemicals, the truck moved it ran on diesel, the warehouse storing it was heated by gas, the factory making it was paid for with electricity. You didn't buy a sofa, you bought oil, gas, and power, all of which skyrocketed in price in 2022. Now pause for 10 seconds. Think about the last big thing you bought. A phone, a holiday, furniture, a car. Now ask yourself, how much of that price was actually energy? And nobody thinks about this, but I'm about to show you why you should. Here's the question that changes everything. How much of my life is tied to energy prices? Most people think, well, just my energy bill, and that's maybe £2,000 a year. But you're wrong. Let me show you the real number. Open your banking app right now and look at the last 3 months and add up your petrol or diesel pump bills, gas and electricity bills, train, tube, Uber, Amazon deliveries, food deliveries, and flights. Now multiply that by 4. That's your annual direct exposure. Now let's calculate your indirect exposure. So if you do the research, you can see the energy cost as a percentage of the final consumer cost. Here is a graphic showing a breakdown of costs by category for a typical person. For example, 30% of your flight tickets are jet fuel prices. 30% of delivery costs are diesel and logistics fuel prices. 25% of furniture costs is energy from manufacturing, materials, and transport. 15% of food costs is energy from farming, refrigeration, transport, and so on. So take your last 12 months of spending and break it down by these categories. Now you can bring all those costs together to know your total energy exposure. For example, direct energy exposure, £8,000. Indirect energy exposure, £4,266. That makes the total energy exposure for the next 12 months equal to £12,266. If energy prices then increase by 10%, then your direct energy exposure fills the full 10%. Your indirect energy exposure you calculated will also go up by 10%. So the direct exposure impact is £8,000 times by 10% for £800. Then the indirect exposure impact is £4,266 times by 10%, which is £426.60. So the total additional cost in the next 12 months from a 10% energy spike is £1,226.60. So do the maths, fill in the table, and calculate your number. Got it? Well, now ask yourself, if energy prices double again, can I afford that? Because it's not if, it's when. And now realize this, you've been gambling that amount every single year, and you didn't even know the gain was happening. And if you're a founder, self-employed, or run any kind of business, your exposure is 10 times bigger. Every business has hidden energy costs, deliveries, packaging, logistics, heating and cooling, transport, supply chain inputs, freight, shipping, raw materials, staff travel. So if you're a cafe, a gym, a construction firm, a factory, a consulting business, a hair salon, every business has energy costs embedded in its entire cost structure. If you don't hedge this, you're gambling with your margins. Now, this is why big corporates hedge. Airlines, supermarkets, manufacturers, logistic companies, they understand that energy prices decide their profits before they even open their doors. If you're not thinking about this, you're flying blind. Think of hedging like booking flights before summer. You book early, it's cheap. You book late, you've got pain. Or think of it like locking in your mortgage rate. Fix it and you're safe, leave it, you're at risk. Energy works exactly the same way. If you know you're going to spend the money anyway, you can stabilize the cost up front. And this isn't speculation, it's protection. This is how airlines lock in fuel costs, manufacturers lock in electricity, cruise ships lock in shipping fuel. And for decades, you couldn't do it. Now here's the part that should make you angry. For 40 years, you've been locked out. The tools existed. The market was open, just not to you. Not because you weren't smart enough. Not because you weren't capable, but because the door was closed. You were excluded by design. The gatekeepers kept the billions and you got the bill. But now something has changed. The door is starting to open. And for the first time in history, ordinary people can access the same tools institutions have used for decades. To hedge fuel, to stabilize bills, to protect savings, to stop gambling and start planning. And in the next video, I'm going to show you exactly how. This is for you. You know how to get your notifications and subscribe on YouTube, so do it.